Food and Beverage Magazine Live, bringing food and beverage to life with your hosts, James Beard Award winner Jennifer English and Food and Beverage Magazine publisher Michael Politz. Featuring leaders in the hospitality, branded food and beverage, and CPG industries, many of whom are Jennifer and Michael's friends in the business, for an informal and informative conversation where friends in the business share the latest intel, ideas, and best practices. Live, juicy inside scoop from the tastemakers, newsmakers, bread bakers, drink shakers, spoon lickers, clam diggers, farms, foodies, and friends of the food and beverage magazine world. Here are your hosts, Jennifer English and Michael Politz.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the Test Kitchens here at Food and Beverage Magazine. And boy, are we getting ready for Valentine's Day. I've got my red on, I've got my quenchable desires in mind about how to make this the most delicious, romantic, and yes, luxurious Valentine's Day ever. We're just weeks away. And you know, I think everybody really deserves not only more romance, but we all deserve a treat. And if you're the kind of person who knows and loves fine caviar, this is going to be the show you don't want to miss. Our good friends from the Caviar Company have sent us their Valentine's Day offering. Look at this gorgeous box. The box alone made me swoon when I took it out of the packaging it was sent in. You can send this anywhere in the country and someone you love will be delighted to get caviar blinis that are already made. Delicious. We're going to talk about what to do with those. We're going to cook a couple while we're here. What to serve with it and how to make this genuinely the most romantic and delicious Valentine's Day. And maybe you're going to pop the question. And maybe you're going to want to pop the cork and the question. You want to do it in a memorable way. This is the way to do it. And if you are like me this year, going to be celebrating Valentine's Day all by yourself, well, I've got a bottle of Pommery Pop that's going to go perfectly well with this. Pairings matter, sips matter, tastes matter. Well, it all matters because in this time, we want to be present. We want to be celebrating the purveyors and the craftspeople who are bringing these experiences to life in this new wave of how to dine at home as if you were in the finest restaurants in the world. Let's just talk briefly about the reality of COVID shutting down some of our favorite places. And how do you take the rituals that we normally would go out and enjoy a meal or an experience at our favorite places? And how can we take that experience now and find someone out there in the world who's doing this in a ship it to your house kind of way? Well, we've done that legwork for you. But more importantly, I really want to talk to all the people from the hospitality industry, the boys and girls who have lost their gigs because their restaurant closed, because of COVID, because of any number of circumstances. If you love this business, we are continuing in this series on Food and Beverage Magazine to explore the silver lining of this time and how you could be inspired to do something else that you would also love that plays on your talents and your passions, your art, your expertise, and your natural God-given ability to cultivate conviviality and hospitality. And so imagine if this might be something you could make come to life in your area for people. Maybe you could create a caviar service using the Caviar Company's products. Maybe you can do something else. But whatever it is, we really want you to stay in our industry. We don't want you to go sell insurance. So everything we do over this series is meant to help us all not only survive and sustain, but to highlight companies that I think are not only finding, but really championing a silver lining for our entire industry. And of course, this is one of those companies. This is the Caviar Company, and joining us now is their founder and CEO. Petra, are you there? We're going to go to Tiburon, California, in the headquarters of the California Company, the California-based Caviar Company. If you want more information, I should tell you that all of this can be found and ordered online. And the different caviar flights that they offer are going to be sent out for Valentine's Day. We're actually going to be doing a flight of caviar tasting today, and I want to bring this up close to show you. There it is. It's absolutely gorgeous. Today we're going to be tasting the classic white sturgeon, the Hackleback, and then the creme de la creme, the Russian Osetra. And we're going to do that, and while that image is up, I'm going to get my little blini warming system up. Yes, I said blini warming system. Okay, it's a pan. You caught me. But we're going to be making some nice warm blinis to go with this as well, over a nice low heat. Now, I know that caviar is not for everybody, not just because it's expensive. Some people consider it an acquired taste. Fortunately, I've acquired that taste. But I want to talk a little bit about our publisher, Michael Politz, and his mentor, Robin Leach. Maybe the man who single-handedly made us be more aware of caviar. In his Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, he closed every show with wishing us champagne wishes and caviar dreams. And yes, caviar is absolutely dreamy, dreamy stuff. One of the things that's been happening in the industry is that there's a lot of really smart, sustainable farming going on of the sturgeon. And a lot of it comes out of California. And leaders in that industry include our friends at the Caviar Company who join us now. Petra, welcome back.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Just at perfect timing, my Wi-Fi decided to stop working. We're kind of in these old buildings in San Francisco that doesn't always play well with Wi-Fi, and especially at important times like this one.
Like a live broadcast.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries at all. Listen, I wanted to welcome you and thank you for what you're doing. Let's just start by talking about Valentine's Day this year. I've said it often on this show and in all my conversations with my friends, there is so much uncertainty. One never knows what's going to happen next. And to me, that just means seize every moment to enjoy life to the fullest. This is one of those times. This is one of those moments. Will you talk a little bit about your point of view about this moment in time and how your thoughts on that same subject might run?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, like you were saying, was so, especially within our industry and our hospitality family and people that we love that are, in this hard position right now of losing their jobs. And for us being in California, this indefinite reopening or not knowing exactly what's next or when things are going to change and to get better. I think it's such an important time to really take the time to love yourself, because you need that optimism and that positivity in your life. What's been really cool to see a lot of people gardening and growing their own produce and, growing their own strawberries and then having it on dessert and having that self-love and satisfaction and, that's success. Creating some kind of feelings of success right now is really important.
Let's talk about caviar. There was a long association dating back to Diamond Jim Brady, kings and queens and courts in Europe and the czars. Of course, we're not completely familiar with the American heritage of caviar, and caviar was actually a big thing, especially along the canals and waterways, where it was served voluminously and freely in saloons to stimulate drinks purchases. I can't imagine what that caviar tastes like, but I can't imagine it was that bad. But there's like a range and an experience that you are drawing from to create what we've got here today. Talk a little bit about caviar, just as a sort of 101 for everybody that may be here for the first time learning about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, touching on what you were mentioning before, it was the food for the czars. It's so much like lobster was food for prisoners in Australia. Caviar has not always been, this really elite, amazing food. It used to actually be for, during the time of of Lent, the Russian Orthodox Church said that sturgeon was okay to eat during that period. So people who could afford it would eat the meat, and then the people who couldn't afford the meat would eat the roe. And then, after time with Genghis Khan and Mongols, they're the ones who really brought it back up to this. They're the ones who elevated it, and it became the food of czars and royalty, and this really niche kind of mysterious product. But there's so many different ways to see it, and different varieties and different price points, and that's what we're about, is kind of educating that you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to enjoy caviar, and a good caviar too. There are different price ranges of product and different roe for different reasons.
One of the things I really am happy about you coming on today is we're actually doing the trio tasting that is the recommended experience for Valentine's Day, and you're offering it to people so that they can do what we're going to be doing here today in their homes with their loved one. Would you talk about what we've brought in here that you've sent to us and that you're offering for Valentine's Day? What is in this, what I'll call the Caviar Flight?
Yeah, of course. Caviar Flight is the perfect term for that, and it's actually this flight is we do flights all the time with different tasting comparisons, and this is our passion, to taste caviar side by side, so you can really understand where the quality comes and where the characteristics come in, and then that way people understand what their preferences are moving forward, whether they're eating it out at a restaurant or buying it again. But so this flight is so neat because it really touches on every single category of caviar. We have our Hackleback, that's one of the last wild caviars available. It is actually coming from the Tennessee River, and other than the Hackleback, and then everything else really has to be farmed. And then we have a domestic wild next to a domestic farmed. We have our classic white sturgeon, which is an amazing product. And to taste them next side by side, they're so different because their diets are different, the water temperatures are different, and the age that they're harvested is different. So the eggs will be much larger, they'll be more rich and fatty, and so that's also a local product to us here in the Bay Area that's farmed just north of Sacramento. So we have our domestic farmed, and then we get to try an imported. So the last one is our Russian Osetra, which is your very traditional caviar. This is what, again, back to food for the czars, this is where it all started from, caviar that originated from the Caspian Sea, and they would bring from the Volga River that fed into the Caspian Sea, this Russian Osetra. This is one of the original Caspian caviars, and it has so much depth and decadence. It comes from a much older fish. So you really get to taste three different varieties side by side, and they're visually different, their textures are different, and again, their flavors it's also different and really fun to cross compare.
In the kit, you also send along mother of pearl spoons. Tell everybody about the tradition of mother of pearl spoons.
Yeah, so we always recommend using mother of pearl. It's a very traditional way of tasting caviar. The reason why we do that is because if you were to use like a metal spoon, sometimes if you leave a metal spoon in the caviar jar, the caviar itself can start to taste metallic, kind of like leaving the teaspoon in your tea. It's very similar. So pearl is the most traditional serving method, but you can also use horn, bone. We also try to avoid wood just because sometimes the wood can absorb like the oils that you get and the decadence that you love from the caviar. So mother of pearl is definitely a very traditional and safe way to serve and plate your caviar.
In addition to the caviar, you sent along this gorgeous, the concierge, it says on here, the Caviar Concierge, the caviarco.com. Would you tell us about this beautiful creme?
Yeah, so that's creme fraiche coming from Bellwether Farms. Again, another local purveyor there that we like to incorporate. So the creme fraiche is a great product. It's after you taste, we always encourage people to taste caviar by itself, just actually right off the back of our hand is the most traditional and oldest way of tasting caviar. And but then after you've tasted it and kind of analyzed it, then it's time to really just sit back and enjoy it. And so You know, if you just take a small blini, put a small bit of creme fraiche on there, topped with the caviar, it really gives you that savory, creamy bite, because that's, you know, the purpose of the creme fraiche is really to tone down the salinity of the caviar.
As if we needed it. It's just gilding the lily, but in the best possible way. Talk a little bit. I know Robin Leach instructed us to enjoy champagne wishes and caviar dreams. What do you think is the perfect pairing to go with each of these? Does the same sip work equally well with all three?
It can, but there are other sips that can work better, if that makes sense. So, you know, I think champagne, just usually like a Blanc de Blanc, is a great caviar pairing and has all, you know, it never disappoints. But part of my job is that we get to sit around a table, pass around a ton of different champagnes and wines, and then also pass around a ton of different types of caviar and figure out which pairings are the best. So we have found, you know, certain species and types of caviar work better or work, you know, with different bubbles. But it's just fun. It's so, like you were talking about at the beginning, treating yourself and just feeling good. And that's a big part of champagne. You know, from the second that you open your bottle and you feel that pop, your senses are already kind of bubbling up. You're like, oh, we're going to have fun. You know, this is going to be a good night.
And as if right on cue, I have a bottle of Pomeroy's Pop. This is one of the beautiful little splits. It's just 187 mLs. Basically a little more than a glass and a half, but it's a really perfect serving if you are going to be enjoying this by yourself. And so many people are in lockdown right now. They're in quarantine.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make people feel like they're going to miss out on anything. Yes, this all tastes better when you have someone to share it with, but look at who we have. We have one another to share this with. And maybe we'll find a way that we can do a Valentine's Day experience, and you're going to be doing some stuff on Instagram. So you're really not alone. But I'm going to open this up and we're going to get started with our tasting. I'm going to go in order that you instruct me to go. I think we start with the Hackleback.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go in that order that that I mentioned earlier with the product.
What is a Hackleback?
So the Hackleback is also known as a shovel nose sturgeon. It's actually the smallest species of sturgeon. And you know what's so funny is whenever my sister Saskia and I were starting this company together, we had a lot of comments and interesting feedback to where, you know, our goal was to bring in a range of products. That's what we love, to cross and compare and have price ranges. And a lot of feedback we got from some friends and family was that, well, you know, that only good caviar comes from Russia. And we kind of took that upon ourselves to be like, challenge accepted, you know, to source and to educate people that we have great species of sturgeon coming from within the US. Even back in the 80s, whenever the stocks were starting to dwindle in the Caspian, Russians came over to the US and they would take species like our white sturgeon, take it back to Russia, process it, make caviar in Russia, and then sell it back to the US as Russian caviar, but is actually, you know, originating from California. And so this Hackleback is a domestic species of sturgeon.
And it's farmed in California, sustainable.
So it's wild. This one is wild, coming from the Tennessee River. Usually it's caught around the Mississippi basin, but you can get it all the way up to Illinois.
I'm sorry, I was jumping ahead to the farmed California. I apologize.
No.
When you toast, when you're experiencing a champagne and caviar moment like this, do you have a house toast from the Caviar Company that you share at the beginning of the ceremony or the experience?
You know, we talked about this earlier. We really love to wish champagne wishes and caviar dreams on anyone that we cross paths with. So cheers. And I hope, cheers to you and to Valentine's Day and celebrating and love.
Here's to love.
Yeah.
Love is infinite. And we're not doing this alone this year. Will you tell me, when we're tasting these, I wish I were stronger.
Well, really quick, while you're opening that, a trick is if you have a spoon, like a teaspoon or a knife that you can slip between the jar and the tin lid to release the air, that will, because they're vacuum sealed, because the two things that really affect caviar are air and temperature. So we vacuum seal everything to try to get as much air out of those jars. So once you can release the air, it'll open up really, really easily. But that's a very common hardship with our products, is that they have this amazing product that they're ready to dig into, but they can't actually open the jar.
No, it's my fault. I have a weakness in my hands, so it's not your fault, it's my fault. All right, here we go. We're all open, we're all ready to go, and we're going to start with the Hackleback. I'm going to just go through these. First of all, the Hackleback has a distinctively midnight black color. They're glistening, and while you'd expect to have a nose of salinity, this just tastes and smells really sort of briny and beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely we try to really avoid anything that has too much salt, that's too salty or too fishy. So we love this Hackleback, and you explained it perfectly. Like, it will always be, that smaller jet black egg. And I see you're doing the caviar bump, which is the way that we always encourage people to taste caviar. So cheers to you. I'm fist bumping you from virtually over here.
Well, as my grandma would say, Nastrovia.
Nastrovia. And so, that, again, people always ask where the bump comes from and why people eat caviar off the back of their hands. But I brought this with me today. This OT, we call it an original tin, or OT. Back in the 1500s, like the fish market, you could buy caviar at the fish market, and it was really inexpensive. And so you would buy a huge tin. This is about 3.3 pounds worth of caviar, and this is what we bring our caviar into. You could taste from every tin before buying it. So they would just scoop some at the fish market, throw it on the back of your hand, and then you could taste it that way. And so we like to carry that tradition over whenever we're tasting caviar.
Now, I've been warming these blini, and this is one we've got, and I just did a little, in a tiny bit of butter. Of all the bites that we're going to taste today, are there different preparations in the combination of blini, crema, and caviar that really are highlighted and that you can highlight for us?
We love just to stick with the blini, small dollop of creme fraiche, and then top with caviar. We really don't, we do like to have some fun with it sometimes. Like, we'll bring in potato chips or Hackleback potatoes or fingerling potatoes, anything that's really starchy and nice. But then for those who are gluten-free, sometimes we'll do cucumber bites, or like watermelon radishes are also a nice vessel for the caviar. But we really like to stick traditional, and we also don't have too much accoutrement. We avoid the chopped onion, the capers, the egg yolk, and those really strong flavors, because we feel like with our caviar, it's really fresh and the quality is there, that we don't actually need any of those other flavors to mask our caviar, which is what it was essentially designed to do.
And here we are with the traditional preparation of the butter crisped blini, the creme fraiche, and a little kiss of the Hackleback. We're going to take a taste of this. Petra, take us to the next one that we're going to try today.
Sure. So this one is really fun to taste after the Hackleback, because how the Hackleback was the smallest species of sturgeon. This is one of the largest species of sturgeon. This fish is our white sturgeon that is local to the Bay Area. It actually, you can find it swimming in the San Francisco Bay, and then now it has to be farmed, so it's not wild caught, but it is native to our area. And this is
But look at the eggs. The eggs have this wonderful, almost dinosaur egg patination to them. They don't look like anything else. They've got both clarity to them and certainly a gem-like quality. And then they have these kisses of opalescent kind of black gray. They're just stunningly beautiful, almost like black pearls.
Yeah, and to see this next to the Hackleback is really fun, because the size of the egg is very different. The Hackleback,
it's almost twice as big.
Exactly. So it's visually so different, but wait until you taste it because this one is so creamy and so buttery. Whereas the Hackleback, you get a lot of that earthiness and that sea flavor, but this one is just so creamy, so easy to enjoy. And this fish, like I was saying, they're big ladies. They get up to 250 pounds before they're harvested for caviar. And then they yield about 20% of their body weight in roe.
Can I say this is stupefyingly delicious?
It's so good. And
It's just creamy. It's like if you made the greatest ice cream in the world and it had that rich, gorgeous, luscious, velvety, savory creaminess.
Yeah, and we get so proud of this because again, like I said earlier, challenge accepted. I feel like I wish if I had one of these, just an ounce of this white sturgeon in my pocket, I would have given it to them to like, here, taste this and tell me what you think.
We're going to try this on the blini as well. And in the last Hackleback tasting with the caviar, the tang of the creme fraiche really accentuated that beautiful, I almost tasted a floral note in the Hackleback. It almost suggested something that might have grown in my garden. It was a very garden-like quality to it.
You're exactly right. We do say it has a lot of earth to it, almost like, they eat off the bottom of the river and those mollusks. And I say it has a lot of stony characteristics too, kind of like slate to it. But it's so fun to taste next to the white sturgeon because they couldn't be more different.
No, and it's not as though you say, I prefer one to the other. You might prefer one, but it's not that one is so superior that it says, oh, I don't ever want to go back to this once I've had that. Each really stands up as its own melody of flavor.
Exactly. And that they have different applications or different days of the week, is what I like to say. But the Hackleback is something, it's such a good price point too, that you could really play with that with pasta, whereas the white sturgeon is just so good by itself too, or with the blini and creme fraiche.
It's good with the blini, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to save my blini for the Hackleback and let the California sturgeon speak for herself.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
You can taste Big Mama's love in this.
Yeah. Well, wait till we get to the third one because we're kind of going up in age, and as the fish get older, they get a lot more rich. Those fats really they directly relate into the quality and the richness of the eggs themselves. So we're getting more rich and decadent as we go in order.
And last but not least, we're going to go now to the imported caviar, and this is a uniformly, gorgeously gray, green, black pearl of Osetra that comes from Russia. We traditionally think of caviar coming from Russia, and of course it's because there was a mastery of this. How did the Russians get to be so good at caviar?
Honestly, I'm not discrediting anyone here, but the sturgeon are really docile and very there were so many of them originally in the Caspian Sea that they weren't too difficult to catch. Now, so this is nothing in the U.S. can actually come directly from the Caspian Sea. It all has to come from farms. So we say it's a Russian product because its lineage and heritage comes from the Caspian Sea, and it is a true Osetra, but it's not actually coming directly from the Caspian Sea anymore. But they really found these sturgeon. They really figured out how to make the eggs, and they used to bury it on the side of the boat to keep it cool. And they learned how to produce, send it up to Paris.
I don't know if that helps at all, but Petra, we can't hear you.
Oh, let me see. I haven't. Can you hear me now by chance? Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Well, let's keep working on this. I hope you guys can hear me because I'm going to tell you that one of my favorite foods of all time is caviar. Yes, I am that girl. You don't have to give me a lot. A little taste every now and then. And when we can get the sound back with Petra, we'll be able to continue on. But we're going to be doing the Russian Osetra next. these gorgeous green, gray, black pearls. They're a big size, like the California sturgeon.
Can you hear me now?
And it is creamy, decadent, luscious. It is delicious. I almost don't want to give it a blini, but how can you not have Russian caviar without a blini? We're going to give
Hi,
that.
Petra.
Hi.
I hear you fine.
Okay.
Let's talk Jennifer work. You know, you got me in the show now, Petra. I wasn't coming on.
That was my motive the whole time.
Well, it worked. So what we have to do is we'll do the Carol Burnett when she looks up. We'll go.
Okay.
I don't know what.
Are you not hearing at all?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I couldn't hear Petra at all.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
In fact, you're calling me right now.
Isn't this a bizarre show, Petra? What happened? This went off the rails quick.
Happened.
Jennifer, no, I'm not calling you. Can you hear Petra?
Yeah, now I can.
Oh, good.
Well, we're on our last and the best of the caviar selections that you send from Caviar Company for us to try. Of course, it's the Russian Osetra caviar. Will you tell us a little bit about what makes this so special and
What
how
part
you
of Russia? The Caspian Sea, but what is that? What part of Russia is that?
It is it's south of Moscow. The Volga River is just south of Moscow, I believe. And now you're really puzzling me with my geography and making me second guess myself.
I'm going to go look. I wonder if my family ate caviar all their lives when they
Yeah,
were
I mean, where's your family from?
Belarus and that sort of up from Russia, Western Europe into Russia,
Yeah,
up to Ukraine.
The Caspian Sea, I feel like I can visualize it on a map. I mean, my visuals will be opposite of you.
It's like, yes, that's perfect.
Well, you guys, I want to talk about why this is the perfect thing for this Valentine's Day. Chocolates are not going to be enough. We've been eating chocolates for 11 months, okay? We've had our goodies, but we haven't had our really luxurious treats. This is time for us to treat ourselves. Valentine's Day 2021. Look at what we've endured. Look at where we're headed. Things will get better, but now is the time to celebrate with arguably the most delicious of them all. Champagne Wishes and Caviar Dreams. From our
Can I say that, Jennifer?
What's that?
Can I just say it for you? Champagne Wishes and Caviar Dreams. How about that?
You know, most people might not realize that Michael Politz, the founder and publisher of Food and Beverage magazine, and Robin Leach were very, very close friends. In fact, Robin was Michael's mentor, and his loss was a great loss for everyone in the Food and Beverage magazine family. And so, for us to be able to do this show today is our homage to the legacy of Robin Leach, and it's our gift to everyone.
Oh.
So, Petra Bergstein, thank you so much for being here with us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
And Michael?
Jen?
Wishes, Caviar Dreams.
Oh my God, I love this show. I feel like I just came on. Why are we ending so soon? Champagne Wishes and Caviar Dreams.
Whether you are thinking about becoming a restaurateur or you are already in the business, Michael Politz has written a must-read, The Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Restaurant Success. Pick up your copy today at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, or wherever fine books are sold.